Hello? Hello? Is anyone there?
Okay guys, I just recently ordered Star Fox for the Super Nintendo, so I wanted to quickly do kind of a little mini review of the console since it's kind of a piece of history. This is a console, or as some people call it, the control deck, because it's not the entire game console. It's got a power button, a reset button, and then it's also got an eject button to eject cartridges. And yes, it uses cartridges, which I like much better than discs. They last for a long time. There's a Nintendo mark. This is a very old console. I think in the really early 90s, the Super Nintendo came out, and it's had nearly 700 plus games that have come out for it. A lot of them are very popular and were ported to consoles like the Game Boy Advance and the Wii through Virtual Console. So, one of my favorite parts of this entire console is the controller. Now the controller, I'm going to plug it in here. Hold on a second, YouTube. Aha! That's how you plug that thing in. As I said, my favorite part of this console is probably the controller. This is a third-party controller. As you see, it doesn't have the Nintendo logo right here. It's got a simple D-pad, or arrow keypad, or whatever people want to call it. And then it's got a Y button, an X button, an A button, and a B button. And then a left and right shoulder button, and start and select buttons. Now my favorite part about this third-party controller I have right here is that the start and select buttons aren't made out of like that rubbery material, so they last longer. But overall the controller, when you hold it in your hand, has a really nice feel to it. Like, most games barely require like these buttons. Sometimes they're just really mild stuff. While other times they're really useful stuff. Like, if I'm correct, this is for different kinds of rolling and stuff in some games, and in Star Fox, a game that I just ordered recently, this is for like turning left and right, like, and if you double tap one, you do a barrel roll. So there are also a handful of games I have for it. These are the ones I have. Most of them are my dad's. This is a very popular one, Super Mario World. And then, one of my personal favorites, let's see if I can find it. Draken. Now, this game has been raved to be a horrible game. YouTube has a video that is the worst games ever series, and Draken is under them. But personally, this game is a really good game. It's a real-time action RPG. It just wasn't very popular. It's kind of actually old. It's like 1991 or somewhere around there. And although the graphics may not be superior, like 2D sprites, it actually has a 3D overworld, which is kind of cool to see when you're walking around. The stories and all that, of course, because of it isn't very popular of a game, I guess. And this Super Nintendo was one of those eras where stories really started coming into play with games. And I think one of the reasons that people didn't like this was because the gameplay is really complicated and the story is really boring and you don't really get into the game that easily. But if you do get into the game far enough, it's kind of fun. Because at first you're like getting destroyed completely by monsters to the point where you're like beating them like with one slash. There were also really popular games with this. Some from the arcade, such as Sunset Riders, which is kind of like a cooperative like game that you would see in like an arcade. It feels a lot like Metal Slug or Contra, but in the Wild West. And then there are some games that you really don't expect to see from the console, like Bonkers. let's see, Super Play Action Football, which is a Nintendo sports game. It's a little bit odd. And then one of the games that is very underrated that is a great game is Lagoon. And it's a lot like The Legend of Zelda with much better graphics and a little bit more of a linear story that is easy to follow, but I found the game a little bit boring when I was a kid, so I never really got that far into it. Another one of my favorites is Desert Strike. It's a helicopter shooting game, and I'm not really into helicopters and stuff like some other people out there, but this game is a ton of fun. You have to, like, refuel, get ammo, rescue, MIA, soldiers that were out on the battlefield, and you also have to, like, pick up agents and stuff to complete missions, and it uses a password system, which I do not like. Now, there are also odds, like, really weird games for this console. One of the ones that I for some reason got into, but is supposed to be a really bad game according to critics, is Mario is Missing. It's a more of a puzzle solver kind of game where you have to go through a city finding clues to unravel Mario's position. And truthfully, I liked it when I was a kid, but when I've played it like a couple of years later, I've noticed how bad of a game this game really is. But maybe for somebody who's really young, that doesn't care too much about crappy gameplay or graphics, well, then you can stand it. There are also fighting games and hack and slash games like Wolverine. I know they have Street Fighter and the Mortal Kombat trilogy. They have a lot of sports games. I think I have Madden 94, 93, and 96. Yeah, I think so. Then there's games like Porky Pigs, Haunted Holiday, and Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures, which is an interesting but overall bad game. Sorry, Pac-Man. Well, that's the game collection. So, how about we put one in? I know just what one to put in. Hey guys, I got the cartridge in. Here's the Super Nintendo with a cartridge in it, and the cartridge I have in it is Desert Strike. So we're going to turn on the console. It's on channel 3. Here it comes. There's a classic Electronic Arts logo. You guys probably aren't too thrilled with me filming this from just a simple camera. I want a capture card really bad. There it is, Desert Strike. So we just press start, and we're into the game. So technically the whole story is that some madman out in the desert is like attempting to destroy the world, and you have to stop him. It's a pretty linear story. The gameplay's fun. Weapons armed. That means that we can do this now. And blow up tanks and stuff. Oh no, they're shooting at me. It's hard to play a game with one hand, I just learned. Danger zone. I better get out of here. They're shooting anti-air missiles at me. Anti-air turret. Ow. You bump into buildings a lot in this game. Look way low to the ground. Stupid infantry soldier. Don't fire at a giant humongous Black Hawk helicopter. Even this is a Black Hawk helicopter, I have no knowledge whatsoever of helicopters, and I got blown up. But luckily, let's see here. This is the menu where you can like check how many Hydra missiles, just overall missiles and bullets you have. It also tells you your fuel amount. You're going to need to recharge your fuel at fuel stations. You use the map. Find stuff like fuel drums, which are located there. the missing in action soldiers appear on the map here. Ammo crates, and then you also have lives in this game. It's kind of cool. I'm in a bad situation right now. Let's blow up this camp here. Ha 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 ha, I feel so amazing and powerful. I'm a giant humongous helicopter the size of that building. I feel a little bit too big in this game. And there's a radar we're supposed to take out. It's gone, but my armor is very low. I'm confusing those anti-air missiles. You can go back on the water. And in order to get your armor back, you stop at a control center, or like this little tiny outpost the Marines have. Just want to go drive my helicopter over to it. Look. Let's go. Come on, helicopter, drop me off. Currently, it doesn't want to drop me off yet because I don't have my objective. So I'm just going to pick up some fuel and get heading out. Now let's look at the features of the console. I could shut the power off right now if I wanted. It wouldn't affect very much. Or I could just reset it. That kind of reboots the console. And I'm back at the title screen. And then when I'm done playing the console after a while, put down the controller, click the power switch, and we're back to Fox. So that's pretty much the overview of this console. It's a really good console, I'll tell you that much. Its games are cheap nowadays. I just got Star Fox for about $10 off of the internet. And some of its games are really unique and fun, but to tell you the truth, half of the games you could probably find on a Game Boy Advanced remake or reboot. I know that Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time, has a Game Boy Advanced remake, and same with Final Fantasy III, which is actually called Final Fantasy VI in the series. But anyways, Super Nintendo, really great console. It has a lot of nice games, and it's a very memorable console. The NES is still a ton of fun to play, but I grew up with this one more over the NES. I still like Mario Brothers 3 and 2 and 1 for the NES, but other than that, I'm going to keep playing this for a while.